Hello everyone! Welcome to the Twin Cities Zine Fest 2020 and tonight's event, our annual Zinester reading. We've been hosting virtual events every day this week, beginning Monday, October 19th, and we'll be celebrating all weekend long as well, through Sunday, October 25th. For lots more information about TCZF, please visit our website, tczinefest.org. My name is Violet. I'm one of the organizers of the fest this year, and I want to send a few quick shout-out thank yous to H.C. Liu, who created the very fun artwork that you're viewing right now, to the folks at Hennepin County Library here in Minnesota, who have helped us make the fest and tonight's reading happen, and to all of our more than 50 zinesters who have joined us for this year's very different, but hopefully still fun, Zine Fest. Tonight, we've got 9 zine and comics creators who will be sharing their work with you. Each reading is under 9 minutes, and we've got a wide range of content, from poetry to personal narratives to artwork. Thank you to each of the folks who have helped create this Zinester reading for Twin Cities Zine Fest 2020. Now let's get to it.
I was on my side when I woke up, feeling extremely cold. I noticed a loud humming sound coming from behind me. The humming grew louder. I grew colder. I felt a pressure on my chest. I opened my eyes to see a dark figure standing over me. The pressure was increasing, as if someone was squeezing me. I panicked, thinking I was dying. I tried to cry out loud for help, but with minimal success. I very clearly felt myself lose consciousness before almost instantly waking up, able to move and breathe again, no longer cold, no longer bothered by loud noises.
Shadow people are a common sleep paralysis hallucination. They may appear at your doorway or at the foot of your bed, leaning over you. They could appear in different forms, including as hooded figures. Shadow people may be your mind's interpretation of the environment around you during the terrifying period of sleep paralysis, but they are reported to be a decidedly evil presence.
I was sharing a room with my sister at the time when I woke up to a strange sensation. It was the evil ghost of a Hecate witch who sat on my chest, pulling out my soul. I was terrified and tried to call out to my sister for help, but she wouldn't respond. And then suddenly, it stopped. I kind of woke up. I immediately told my sister about it. She hadn't noticed anything weird at all.
Legends of the Night Hag, or the Old Hag, have been told across the globe. The myth is so widespread that sleep paralysis is often referred to as the Old Hag syndrome. She travels around the world, bringing with her nightmares. If this hideous old woman decides to visit you, she may sit upon your chest, crushing you, suffocating you. Her visit may leave bad smells and strange shadows in her wake.
I felt someone hug me and whisper into my ear. I came to say hello.
Hello.
I finally broke free of the paralysis. I was crying uncontrollably. I still felt that someone was in the room with me.
This Slavic variation of the hag focuses more on children, but not exclusively. Sleeping on your back is more likely to invite her for a nighttime visit. She may sit upon your chest or squeeze you from behind, trying to draw out your life force. She feeds on your dark feelings. Made of shadows, the Nochnitsa has red glowing eyes, and you may hear her horrible screeching noise. She leaves your room smelling like the moss of the forest she lives in. She is said to be warded off by a stone with a hole in the center, or knives placed in a child's cradle.
There was a dark figure near my bed. I tried to scream. Realized I couldn't. Then he started smiling. So I closed my eyes and I tried to focus on my breathing. but I felt that something wasn't right. I opened my eyes and saw the figure standing just inches from my face. I concentrated on breathing and telling myself that it wasn't actually happening, until I realized I could move. An episode always leaves me tired.
The man in the hat may be a shadow person, but unlike his kin, he is distinctively male and has a more tangible quality. He may be able to touch or inflict harm upon you, both physically and psychologically. He is often drawn in by domestic disturbances or family breakdowns. Like the Noknitsa, he may have glowing red eyes and feeds off your fears. He is usually tall, wearing a black trench coat and a wide-brimmed hat or fedora. His face is a shadowy blur. What is strange is that he has been reported by people from all over the world, from different cultures and backgrounds.
The TV was on. The door to my room was open. My little brother was on my bed, trying to wake me up by pretending to throw dirts at me. He woke me up, probably, except I couldn't move myself at all. I might have seen myself in third person. I'm not sure. I thought I died or something. I just tried to move. I was aware of everything around me. I was trying to scream for help the whole time. Except no noise came out. Couldn't wake up either. Finally, jolted out of bed, shouting for Dad. Except it was more of a whisper.
Otherwise known as an out-of-body experience, astral projection is when your soul leaves your body and moves around on its own. People have reported seeing themselves sleeping, sometimes with a cord attaching their spirit self to their physical self. An auditory tone of increasing pitch is often heard. Sleep paralysis is a common method of inducing astral projection, though usually unintentionally. While floating, you may see the shadow people loom over your physical body.
Wake up! Panic! Unable to breathe. Pressure on chest. Screaming. Cat came in. Sat near purring until I was able to move.
In Latvian legend, the Domovoi is a house spirit who looks out for the family. He watches over you while you sleep. While his true form is that of an ancient elder of the family, he may take the form of a cat or a dog. His true form may also possess a long grey beard, horns, horse ears, and a tail. He seeks to maintain peace within the household. However, if displeased or disrespected, he might smother you in your sleep.
Yugbara, father to the lost, and speaker of shadows. It's me, Taro. I did it. I really made it. And now that I'm here, please accept my offering and grant me my freedom! Oh. No. You know, this doesn't exactly look like a prison. So unless this is some new form of torture, you could at least tell me where I am, or where you're taking me.
Kowal take thieves to court of Buko.
Buko? The Grand Shaman?
Yes, soon I, Kowal, will expose thief for blasphemy. Then Kowal shall be hero to all the kingdom. Then shall thief know where is prison.
Blasphemy? Are you insane? I didn't...
Kowal almost forget to tell the laws of court. Kowal tell you now. Number 1. The gods speak truth and speak it to the shaman. Number 2. The law of the gods is the law of mortals. The law has the first word. And last, law number 3.
The mouth of the gods is an altar? Then is it true? The Grand Shaman is a living god?
Law number 3. All must deal. Grand Buko, we kneel before you. Grant us your holy audience, as we listen to your immortal truth in silence.
Yeah!
Oh! Oh, cool. is Heather. I'm also known as HC Blue Art, and I am here to do the Twin Cities Zine Fest digital reading of a couple of my zines. Who am I? I am an angry Gemini Earth Dragon. I'm multiracial, Asian, and queer, a cisgender, disabled, depressed, anxious, and surviving woman of color. And I am the Twin Cities Zine Fest 2020 art creator, originally from California. I'm also a dog mom. And I'm currently in St. Paul, Minnesota, which is occupied and colonized Dakota and Anishinaabe land. So the first zine I'm going to share with you is called Sometimes Being Sad is Okay. I thought this might be appropriate just given the current context that we're in. I wrote this crying when I was getting my car done. It was pretty rough. So Sometimes Being Sad is Okay, a zine. There are some days I think I should invest in a tissue company because I cry a lot. You know, the kind of cry your eyes turn red. There are also sometimes, always, days where I become one with my bed. My bones are too heavy to move. I wake up shaking. The sun feels too bright. The air is too cold. The sky is empty. It's just too dark out. Everything conspires against me. Even on a perfect day full of puppies and glitter, I feel sad. Yes, I go to therapy. I go to the psychiatrist. I take pills and medication. Yes, I have tried alternative techniques, yoga, aromatherapy, acupuncture, etc. I do have happier days full of love and laughter, art, and puppies. I have a wonderful family, a successful career. I am high achieving or functioning, whatever that means. I have depression, anxiety, PTSD, and other chronic illnesses. Mental health is stigmatized and can feel shameful. But sometimes being sad is okay. You're not alone. Love, HCLOU. And shout out to Carrie Lee Art for my birthday persimmon right there, which clearly I love. Look at my background. The next zine I want to share with you is called Chives Blossom Vinegar. It's a zine that I co-authored and created with one of my BFFs, Lo Kling, known as the Pickle Witch, and YOLO Zines. So here's our specs, a little bit of information. So you already know about me, but Lo, they, them, theirs, is making and fermenting food with Karen Magic on occupied Dakota and Anishinaabe land. They are a queer mixed race pickle witch. You can find Lo at YOLO Zines. You could also email them there. So a little bit about the zine. Over the years, we have become close friends, queer family. We make art together. We send each other pictures of our pets and goofy selfies, and we all talk about our mental health. It has been so important for me to make friendships with other queer Asians who are dedicated to liberation and solidarity, to talk about the violence we have each internalized and trying to unlearn, and find joy in the beauty of our friendship. It has been so important for me to be friends with HC and me with Lo. To celebrate our friendship, we are offering a recipe of our friendship, chive blossom vinegar. So here's a recipe. Start with as many chive blossoms as you can gather. Leave plenty for the pollinators. It works best if you gather some from your yard and your queer family members to gather from their yards, and you combine them all together. Trim all the green parts off gently and gently wash the blossoms, and throw any ants or gnats back outside in the yard so they can keep caring for the garden. In a clean glass jar, pack the chive blossoms almost to the top. Add vinegar. I use a combination of rice and white wine vinegars until it covers the blossoms. Cover the container with a non-metal lid and let it sit for a month. It will turn a beautiful pink, kind of like my lips, as the flowers give their color to the vinegar. Use the vinegar or the pickled blossoms as sour accents on your salads, to finish your soups, or with fresh cucumbers. Repeat this process season after season and count your years of queer independent relationships by how many bottles of pink vinegar you create and consume with your family. So the last one, zine that I want to share with you, especially in these times, is called No Energy Vampires, which is a practical guide to warding off whack energy zappers for angry queer women of color and femmes. And this is something that is the last of my Another Love Letter zines from 2018, but I think it's really relevant for now. What is an energy vampire? Someone or something that non-consensually zaps your life force, labor, emotions, or creativity. Sometimes an energy vampire can leave you feeling like a deflated flat tire or a shower head without any water pressure, or your favorite pen that suddenly has no ink to finish your latest zine. We are all energy as vampires. Sometimes we zap and sometimes we get zapped. So, how could one ward off energy vampires or avoid getting bitten? How do we stop ourselves from becoming energy vampires? 1. Before entering any space, draw or envision 3 circles above your head and say, I am my own energy. My energy is my own. I am intentional about who I share my energy with. Put at least 1 crystal or rock that speaks to you in your pocket or somewhere you see daily. This is to ground yourself. This reminds you to breathe, and this will help remind you that you are powerful, fierce, and solid. Anytime an energy vampire comes near you and starts going off without checking in, do one of 3 things. Say right now, this is not a good time. Oh, there we go. Say right now is not a good time. Please check in with me next time or process elsewhere. 2, cast a spell and protect your energy and stop listening. Make your grocery list. Or my personal favorite, hiss. 4, energy vampires might approach your light. Create a bubble barrier with your light and do not let the energy vampires in. Breathe deeply. Feel your bones and muscles and soul. They are good and magical and help you move for the day. Meditate and focus on your being. 5, dance parties are a good technique to keep energy vampires at bay, especially if you are a horrible yet confident dancer. 6, take time to recharge. Hike, watch sunsets, fly kites, birdwatch, or make pickles. Shout out to Lo. After experiencing an energy vampire, we might feel sad, anxious, drained, or confused. But what if you're reading this and realizing that you are the energy vampire? To be honest, we all have, myself included. What can you do to heal yourself and your community? 1, say you're sorry to the people you've impacted. 2, ask the other person for consent before sharing or unloading. 3, if you can access therapy or help or support, go. Sometimes people with marginalized identities feel the impact or stigma of oppression. Ask the people in your life for referrals and search the internet for the right provider. Then contact them. Keep a mood journal or notes about how you feel and what you'll do about it. Revisit and reflect on yourself and your identities empowered daily. 5, explore different ways to get energy. Exercise, make art, snuggle puppies, embroider, or do something that fills you instead of stealing energy from others to get your fill. Needing or wanting support from people or community is not the same as energy vampire behavior. We all need or crave social and emotional support from the people in our lives. We all deserve to be seen, loved, and respected. So before loading up on garlic and to ward off unwanted energy or energies, check in with those around you in your life about how you imagine support and boundaries. Here's to radical liberatory love. Here's to loving ourselves, each other, and each other in ways that heal and grow our souls. No more energy vampires. Thanks, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Know that you're cared about and loved. Fuck white supremacy. And thank you so much. If you want to learn a little bit more, go to hclouart.com or follow me at instagram.com, hclou. All right, take care.
Hello, my name is Jess Reyes. My pronouns are she, her, they, or them. I am a multidisciplinary artist practicing in drawing, painting, mixed media art, poetry, book arts, and video. Sometimes I dabble in fiber art too. I love shapes, patterns, bright colors, curvy uneven lines, watercolor, collage, paper, yarn, pixels, and found images. My work is rooted in play, vulnerability, experimentation, collaboration, DIY approaches, and the blending of disciplines. I am often working on multiple projects at once. I'm a pretty curious person. I think it's book arts that inspires me the most. I tend to get the most satisfaction. I can explore poetry. I can even do a video poem. I can make a zine. I love the book arts, and I'm excited to share some more of my work related to this medium. So I definitely like to make little artist books, little books of paintings or a piece of paper that I paint on and then I cut up into a little book, one of a kind. But I also make zines of poetry, photography, and I just released this year Personal Window, which I'd like to do a reading from as well as offer the video poem that accompanies it. Personal Window is an ongoing zine with individual issues. The first issue, released earlier this year, is titled Yesterday.
You know, one thing that I have been doing over the years is much of my art is connected to my mom. My mom is a big part of who I am, so she naturally is represented and explored in my art. And about 5 years ago, I lost my mother due to a terminal illness, and I have been writing poetry. I've made numerous short video poems about my mom and the grief associated, the long-term grief associated with that loss. And so some of the poems that are in Yesterday and the video poem that is included in Yesterday is about that, is about her, but it's also about longing and it's about memory and trying to hold on to that, but also appreciate memory in that way. So when and if you get a copy of this, you'll get a sense of that through the poems that I have chosen for this. So the first poem I'd like to read from the Yesterday is called Moonland. And Moonland was one of the very first poems that I wrote after my mom passed away. Moonland. In this world, I live on the moon. As each day comes, I just move along. I wake up, I fall asleep. Night sets in. Night does not stop. As my mind and body settle, memories take over and thoughts creep in. My eyes closed. I see her. I hear her. I push aside the memories to get through the day, to get through work, to get through dinner, to get through all of this. He hears my tears. He holds me. It does not stop. On the moon, there is no air to breathe, no breeze, no wind to feel.
When I released Personal Window #1, I also included a link to Yesterday. It premiered along with the release of the zine, which you can now watch here. All right, you don't need to say anything. Just a moving picture. And there's Batman.
She was videotaping me this morning when I was cleaning the kitchen counter. Batman.
Get your frisbee.
Batman. Is your frisbee? No, over there.
Batman.
Over there.
A moving picture. Shows a table set. Gathered together. A knitter, a cook, a survivor, and a ball of joy. Everyone has a good memory, but grief is small, porous and tiny, absorbing yet dry. Tears drop, expanding the diaphragm, releasing tension. Years on years held onto emotions, pulsating, gasping, jerking. I will protect you. I will save you. I will be there. Freeze frame. Freeze frame. Wait, right there. Stop moving. Freeze frame. Keep moving. I can do that now. Moving.
All right. You don't need to say anything. Just a moving picture. And there's Batman.
She was videotaping me this morning when I was cleaning the kitchen counter. Batman.
Get your frisbee. Batman.
Is your frisbee? No, over there.
Batman.
Over there.
You can get a copy of Personal Window at my website, jessreyes.com. I almost forgot to tell you about my mini zine mailing list. It's free. You can sign up. Just email me at jessreyesart@gmail.com. A big thanks goes to the Twin Cities Zine Fest for supporting my work. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Met Tinsley. You might see me around the internet and social medias as Oblivion Spin. I write zines and other things. Most notably, the Oblivion Spin Occasionally, which is my occasional zine that's had 4 installments so far. I'm going to read to you today one of the reoccurring features from the zine, Memory Tourist, which is a series of seemingly unrelated anecdotes about my life, starting off with the one featured in Volume 1, Issue 2. This one was called Decay in the Corpse Cabin. I'm being somewhat generous when I call the cabin, which has been referred to as lovingly as a soup and corpses cabin by fictional characters indebted with my memories, a cabin. Cabin, as a term, conjures up such a cozy little vision, or at the very least a rundown murder house. The cabin, like most things in life, was disappointingly neither, quite. But the cabin itself is not as important, really, as the fact that on the same property as the cabin was the charred remains of an earlier cabin, and that this was the first place I lived. Besides the cabin, the gravel path for driving that I will not deign to call a driveway, the fenced-in cow, grave of another cow, rabbit hutch, trailer housing Papa Bud, and the all-important charred cabin, the property also boasted a long row of rhododendrons and rusted nails in Folger cans, which Decay gladly ate. I thought Decay was a Dalmatian, because his fur was white and patchy and speckled with black spots. He was a mutt who took his name as an instruction for what he needed to do while still alive. He was polite enough to wander off when it was time for him to die, or so my dad explained. Many of the dogs wandered off to die when their time came, even Dirge, who spent years following behind me to pull up sticks as fast as I could plant them. Quitcha didn't wander off to die, though. Quitcha was one of a trio of sandy, short-haired dogs. Quitcha, Fuckin', and Bitchin'. My dad, the petty man he was, named them as such so that he had an excuse to yell off the porch, "Quitcha fucking bitchin', bud," as though that was more subtle than just walking over 20 feet to his dad's trailer to tell him off in person. Either way, my last memory of Quitcha was that she had maggots already crawling in her skin, and that my dad was crying when he went out to shoot her. I didn't understand death when we lived in the corpse cabin. I had only been to the funeral of some grandma who had lived to 113, and my only recollections of the trip was the fake food my Barbie had for her shopping basket. When Jack the iguana had died, my parents had set him up on a log in the backyard, and I had gone out to visit, not distinctly aware he had changed. Despite this, my dad told me that the dogs wandered off when it was time for them to die, and that the cabin was once an unexplained spot where they had stored bodies in the winter while they waited for the ground to thaw. The ground seemingly never froze hard enough to prevent a proper grave, and I can't hardly remember if the cabin even had the requisite basement for body storage. And again, despite this, I believed wholeheartedly that dogs wandered off to die, and that the cabin had indeed housed corpses, up until I went back to visit, and my sister warned me, while drawing a map that was all loops and squiggles, that the cabin had just fallen over one day. Fallen over and a new house built, like we had never been there, roaming those woods and mooing at a lonely cow with a pack of dogs. Between you and me, I think our fed-up ghosts gave it a push. From issue 3. It's Memory Tourist, The Cheese at the End of the Maze. We must have been headed to the bus stop after a trip to the thrift shop, because there is no other earthly reason to have been walking through that part of Midtown. It was spring, or felt close enough to it, and I was counting the cracks and crumbles in the dirty-ass sidewalk, listening impassively to an angry monologue. At this point in my life, 17, I was nothing if not ambitious. I worked out frequently until my body fat was down and my six-pack could be distinguished. I participated in DECA, competing in accounting at a state level. I did underground obscure poetry readings and won awards and medals in art and photography contests. I kept up with correspondence obsessively, busied myself with resin casting and stop-motion animation and painting and drawing and sculpting and bookbinding, martial arts, German Club, literary magazine, even the stray GSA meeting. If there was anything worth doing, I did it. If it caught my eye, I chased it. The only criticism I would have had for myself and my ambition at the time was that I never took the time to focus on what I wanted to do, always leaping straight into how to do it. The guy I dated in high school had other peeves about my obsessive interest in the world. "You're like a rat in a maze," he was yelling. Enough other people were looking and eavesdropping. "You keep running and chasing after everything, but you don't seem to see that the cheese at the end of the maze is fucking poison." The speech was much longer, much more impassioned, but that was the gist. In reality, it went on until he was spitting into the air, red-faced like a tomato, overripe to the point of leaking. But the gist is still what I hear when I feel out of my depth. That long-forgotten voice echoes in my head that the cheese is fucking poison. I always focus on the sidewalk and keep walking. And finally, for today's trio of readings, the one featured in issue 4, the most recent issue to come out, Overlake and Underground. If I stood on my tiptoes, I could just bring my chin to rest on the windowsill, making my eyes just about even with the trunk of the bush blocking my view of the shoes of people passing outside. I didn't rest my chin here often, just the once to see if it could be done. It felt fitting that they had banished us down here, out of sight and out of. I spent little time in my own room besides sleeping, preferring to sit in the common room and work puzzles with the women old enough to be my mom, one of whom, weeping, told me I was her daughter's age and too young to be there. The shocking revelation seemingly helped with her recovery. Nothing the hospital did particularly helped with mine. But I was good with the puzzles, and even though I didn't really like them. And the women there talked to me, and when my medications made me puke right after eating, the man who always ordered himself 2 meals would give me one of his. We all drank watered-down cranberry juice, watered down by choice, and goddammit none of us got a UTI. A girl my age came and stayed for a day and a night, and told me if I felt hunger pangs, I could suck on a cough drop until they went away. I made her a bracelet, hoping we could be friends. It was too small for her wrist. She was moved anyway. They had counted my scars when I entered, each one on my hips and ribs written down. They took the inventory before I left to make sure I hadn't forgotten any in the sheets. My crisis had been ongoing, and I don't think anyone visited that time. My grandfather's funeral happened while I was in, and an old nurse fed me chocolate pudding and told me that maybe they could put me in foster care so I'd finally get a family who actually loved me. Calls were made at the reception desk, if it could be called that. Our area shut off with locked doors. The desk was where we took our cups of pills. I made my calls and left messages on answering machines. And then, one day, it was time to leave, and it was like nothing had happened, and I had never been there, because nothing had happened, and I never had been. Thank you for listening to my selection of readings. Hope you enjoyed them, and you can find me on the web at Oblivion Spin, and get a copy.
Hello. First off, thank you so much to the Twin Cities Zine Fest for inviting me to read this year. Twin Cities Zine Fest is such a wonderful organization, and I'm flattered to be invited to contribute to this awesome show. My name is Sean Knickerbocker. I'm a cartoonist, illustrator, and printmaker. I graduated from the Center for Cartoon Studies in 2012. My work has appeared in Ecotone, The Nib, Irene, and other publications. My first graphic novel, Killbuck, was published by 1% Press in 2017, and a collection of my mini-comic series, Rust Belt, was put out by Secret Acres in 2019. Both works are currently in the process of being translated into French and published by Huber Editions later this year. Today I'll be reading from a new comic I've been working on. It's called Best of Three. Lastly, you can follow me on Instagram at Sean Knickerbocker, or you can check out my website, SeanKnickerbocker.com. Being this far out in the country is pretty weird. The sky is so damn dark. You can see every star, planet, the frickin' Milky Way, sometimes maybe even a UFO. There ain't no UFOs. 95% of the time, it's just a satellite. Fools think they really spotted ET when really it's just the CIA spying on us all. Get out of my chair, man. But I like it. It makes me feel like I'm the captain of the Enterprise. Ha! Ow, hey, okay, I'll get up. You're a lieutenant at best. I'm the captain. Space, the final frontier. Now, George, he's my second in command. Commander, toss me a beer. Aye, Captain. Yes, excellent. Commander George and Lieutenant Sam. Hey, who steps on my bridge unannounced? Hey, Dave, it's just me and Peg. About time. Peg, where's your friends? I thought they were coming. They bailed. They always bail. Hell yeah, Jimbo. Grab a beer, make yourself at home. Thanks, man, will do. But we're just swinging by to check in on things. Can't stay long. Jim. Sorry, did you want one? No, just pull the Band-Aid off and tell them already. Tell us what? So Peg and I have been thinking about it, and we decided to sell our condo and move back here. Now, we can give you guys a few months' notice. Y'all can stay until August. Are you kidding me? Jim, don't do this. We're like this close to getting this landscaping business off the ground. We've come this far and now you're going to pull the rug out from under us? Pfft, landscaping business, here we go again. Excuse me? You spent the past 5 years being this close to getting a real job, or starting a business, or turning your life around. Jim's helped you along as much as any charitable person could. But it's time for you to get your shit together and help yourself for once. We want our house back. Our house. You're not even from here. You're just some yuppie looking for some cheap real estate. What? You gonna open up a coffee shop in the old post office? Bring some of that economic prosperity to a bunch of country rubes? This is my idea, David. So watch your tone or else. Or what, Jimbo? What are you gonna do about it? Kick my ass? Let's go, Peg. August 1st. You're gone. Coward. Goddamn, dude. Good riddance. I guess it's just more for us. Commander George, bring me my whippets. Aye. If it's the Renaissance guy, tell him the check's in the mail. Hello, is this the Kelly residence? Yeah, man, but if you're selling kitchen knives or vacuums or some shit, then scram. I'm here on behalf of Dennis Kelly. I'm looking for his son, David. That's me, but I'm not bailing him out if that's what this is about. I'm sorry to inform you that Dennis Kelly has passed. May I come in? Huh? Let me just move some stuff out of the way here. Sorry for the mess. I've seen worse. So, was it a heart attack or something? A few months ago, his speedboat capsized in the Gulf, and last week his body was found washed ashore in Florida. Pops never could send child support, but he could afford a damn boat? Well, I was his legal counsel, not his accountant, so I can't speak to that. Do you have a VCR? In the event of his death, I was asked to send this. To my son David, if you are watching this, then tragedy has befallen our family, and I have met my demise. I have had many regrets in my life. Marrying Eileen, abandoning you to chase my career in gaming, buying that daiquiri bar in Tampa. But there's one thing I don't regret, no matter what. That's you, David. I can only say I wish I came to see you more. I wish I saw the man you became. I leave to you my prize earnings and a copy of my self-published guide to competitive magic cards and autobiography, Upkeep to End Step. I encourage you to read my book. In it, you'll find tales of conquest, defeat, and a roadmap to... Hell yeah, what a guy. So where's my cash? I'll leave this with you and be on my way. Your father was a great man.
Hi, my name is Sunshine Gao, and today I'll be reading an excerpt from a sad cookbook zine called Survival Food. I hope you enjoy. Takoyaki. Whisk dashi, eggs, soy sauce, salt, and flour together. Set aside. Use brush or paper towel to add thin layer of oil to takoyaki pan. Heat until smoking, then pour in flour mixture. The batter can't fill the holes in your heart, but it should fill the holes in the takoyaki pan. Slowly drop an octopus piece into each takoyaki hole, the way so many of your friends dropped you. Sprinkle the entire pan with chopped pickled ginger and finely sliced scallions. Using takoyaki pick or anchovy fork in a pinch, turn over batter balls in the pan, little by little. Turn over the ways you've hurt those you care about in your head, little by little. Keep turning until cooked and browned. Remove takoyaki from pan. Garnish with takoyaki sauce, dried bonito flakes, and crushed seaweed. Serve. Dry fried green beans. Trim ends from green beans and unnecessary concerns from your life. Cut beans and burdens into medium-length sections. Don't lose sight of who and what is most important to you. Fry in shallow oil on medium-high heat until wrinkly. Remove and set aside on paper towels to drain oil. In oiled wok, fry Sichuan peppercorns, ginger, garlic, and dried chilies on medium heat until fragrant. The fragrance will hopefully be comforting after the smell of antiseptic and death. Turn the heat to high and add ground pork or minced mushrooms. Fry until browned. Add Shaoxing wine, soy sauce, sugar, and green beans. Toss while frying until dry. It'll be a while before they run out of tears, but stay solid and stay patient. If you can be a stable point, things will be just fine. Remove from wok and serve. Sticky pork ribs. Season pork ribs with salt and pepper. Oil roasting pan and put it on high heat until smoking. Press ribs into roasting tray and sear to browning. Imagine pressing their face into the hot metal. Remind yourself that anger should not be murderous. Turn ribs over as needed. While searing ribs, add sliced ginger, sliced garlic, Sichuan peppercorns, dried chilies, star anise, sliced scallions, honey, vinegar, rice wine, despair, and stock. Cook a little longer, then transfer ribs to oven and bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, turning ribs over once. Stop baking ribs when the liquid has reduced by about half. Contemplate your inability to stop someone close to you from violating someone close to you again. Remove tray from oven and put over high heat. Reduce remaining liquid ingredients until thick and sticky. While reducing, turn the ribs to coat them evenly. Your powerlessness today will glaze your life for years to come. Remove ribs from roasting tray. Garnish with finely sliced scallions and sesame seeds. Serve. Chili chicken. Debone chicken thighs. Cut meat into chunks and marinate in soy sauce and Shaoxing wine. You've been awake for days now, fearing they'll harm or kill themselves if you're not available. So take this chance to close your eyes for just a moment. Wake up. Shake chicken dry. Mix potato starch, chili powder, and ground Sichuan peppercorns. Lightly cover up the chicken and your exhaustion with starch mixture. You failed to help the one who was most important to you before. You can't fail them, too. In oiled wok, fried chicken over medium-high heat until golden, then set aside. Remove most of the oil from wok. In same wok, fry sliced garlic, sliced ginger, and sliced scallions until fragrant. Add chicken, dried chilies, and Sichuan peppercorns. Stir or flip vigorously. If you do it hard enough, you'll feel a little more alive. Remove chili chicken from wok. Garnish with finely sliced scallions. Serve. Eat and live bit by numbing bit. Mapo tofu. Cut silken tofu into cubes. Simmer until cooked through. As they did to you, drain and set aside. Try not to be bitter about that. In oiled wok, fry Sichuan peppercorns over medium heat until fragrant. Keep the oil, but remove and discard peppercorns. You really can't blame them, you know? In same oiled wok, combine sliced garlic, sliced ginger, and sliced scallions, and fry over medium heat until fragrant. Add ground pork or minced mushrooms, and fry over high heat until browned. Add chili bean sauce, preserved black beans, soy sauce, Shaoxing wine, sesame oil, and chili oil, and mix well. Add water or stock and tofu cubes. Simmer briefly, but remember, no one owes you anything just because you exhausted yourself for them. Add cornstarch mixture and gently turn until sauce is thickened. Remove from wok. Garnish with finely sliced scallions, chili oil, chili powder, and chili flakes, as much as it takes to make you cry, since you can no longer cry on your own. Serve. Fish fragrant eggplant. Peel Chinese eggplant. Cut into medium-sized segments. Soak in salt water for 20 minutes. Drain and pat dry. Deep fry eggplant until golden and tender. Though you didn't appreciate it, people have been so gentle with you in this tender time, haven't they? Set eggplant aside in paper towels to drain the oil and your sadness. Slice chili peppers. Cover with white vinegar and microwave for 1 minute. In sliced wok, fry flash pickled chili peppers, sliced garlic, sliced scallions, and sliced ginger in high heat. Add chili bean sauce, chili oil, Shaoxing wine, jinjiang vinegar, soy sauce, and sesame oil. Cook until ingredients come together. Be thankful that your desperate cooking has brought so many people together in this time. Add eggplant and starch mixture. Toss until coated. Remove from wok. Garnish with finely sliced scallions. Serve. Dumplings. Pour hot water into flour and mix into dough. Let it rest for about half an hour. Let yourself rest too. You've made it somehow. You're finally out of the woods. Mince Napa cabbage. Blanch minced cabbage until color changes. Painfully, haltingly, things do change. Drain, salt, mix, then squeeze any excess water and bitterness out. Get it all right out of your system. Finely mince garlic and ginger. Finely slice scallions and garlic chives. Combine with pressed cabbage, ground pork or minced mushrooms, soy sauce, oyster sauce, Shaoxing wine, sesame oil, salt, and pepper. Mix well, but you don't have to get mixed up in other people's problems all the time, you know? Form dough into snakes, then cut snakes into small balls. Roll into small flat discs with rolling pin. Take one in your hand and add a spoonful of filling. Squeeze shut. They've shut the door to your room and locked it, and people are screaming at them to come out before they hurt themselves. Bring a pot of water to boiling. Add dumplings. Let the water and your helplessness and your exhaustion boil again. Add a cup of cold water. Let it all boil one more time. Remove dumplings. Serve with garlic and vinegar on the side. Repeat until all the dumplings are wrapped and cooked and served. Over and over again. Repeat.
Hello everyone, this is Drew from Lucinda Productions. I will be reading 2 zines for you today. They are both poetry zines. First one is a regular size zine, It's called Poetry Found in the Ether. So let's begin with this one. The impulse to control, observation, knowing the details, all the tiny details, an insignificant path, assuming it docile, though each has a purpose beyond assumption. Organizing every second, every minor detail, destroying hours of precious sleep, pondering unlikely possibilities, walking alone into the eyes of strangers, peering into the depths of a cloud, longing for answers to questions I'm afraid to ask, confirming a cosmic consciousness, ease the overthinking, trying too hard causes destruction, self attracts the worthy, hate unnecessary, karma a tool to happiness. Scatter thoughts of little importance. The mirror tells me everything my mind is afraid to utter. The ground turns to water as I sink towards realization. Promises and intentions last as long as a day. The morning mist clears it and creates new lies. The ambient sounds of isolation soothe the noises of crying nonsense. Signals received incorrectly, though maybe a new kind of game, or a chance towards eternity. Experimenting with spirit, dreams become fortune. The second zine I'll be reading for you today is called Paper Calluses. It's a miniature zine, a micro edition. We originally did print it in a regular size version, and it was quite popular, so we ended up giving all of them away, and we reprinted it in a smaller pocket size because they're a little bit easier to produce, so we wanted to have more people get a chance to read it, and I will begin reading it for you. A door into a new reality through an illuminated hall, dreaming yourself into nightmare, then blindly feeling for the knob. Shedding concepts, mostly unmade, all find a place among the shelves. Light is dim, but still shines on every thought. Broken locks leading to confusion, uncontrolled, the passing of space, turn to rantings of nonsense, misplaced obsession, a traveler lost amongst daydreams. Reality splinters into a trap of creation, screaming into a portal much too far away, opening, silently, unseen to distorted glances. The walls rumble, the ground absorbs rapid beating, surfaces covered with rot, an extension of mind, the pipeways congested by extensions of spirit. I choke on the sights and smells of ignorance. And when I speak up, the cackles diminish and quickly turn to judgment, and the flow churns till sap forms, poking at an itch till a wound manifests. Anger, said to be a secondary response, is now the only resort, but has its pressure points. Her tears lend a glossy coat to an inverted face and shuts me down from within. Say nothing, show nothing to those who mean nothing, but for her, the world and every world. Trapped in a womb of poison, like an earthquake, the howls grow louder, the ground collapses, the air turns to glass. I await the storm to pass. When the dark clouds sleep in their distant realms, the dust left thicker, with no regard for the fields. The eyes glow red with ignorance. The stench heats the crowded vents. While you slumber, unknown to mine, the sprinkles will reach your lips, coating you with your spirit's glow, straight from my fingertips. Keep thinking only of yourself. Be cautious. Question the potions on the shelf. We now come to the final poem in this volume. It's called Paper Calluses, the namesake for the book. And I will begin. Paper calluses. A blue surface glistens with a pinkish glaze, the twine wrapped tightly, piled high, awaiting the cauldron and blade of fate. All the while, the cleansing water brings a sting to the wrinkles in my hands, slowly eating away. As the piles lessen, the machines sing thanks. They pose as operators and praise their smiling stand-ins, not seeing the tears that bring their triumph. Machines, after all, only see machines, slowly eating away. Looking downward with shaken focus, every day another veil from the pulsing aches, nothing lasting and loyalty overlooked, slowly eaten away. Thank you guys for listening. It's been a great honor to be a part of this project. Please enjoy the rest of the readings. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lo, they, them pronouns from YOLO Zines. That's YOLOW Zines. I'm going to read from 2 zines today, and my background is from Ethan Simpson. My first zine is called Did You Eat? It's a collaborative zine between 22 artists of color from different backgrounds. It was created on stolen and occupied Dakota and Anishinaabe land. It was created and edited by me, laid out by my friend Ellie Fire Ostergaard, and printed locally. There are pieces by illustrators Blue Delaconte, Corey Nakamura Lin, and H.C. Liu, and the cover is by June Osaki. There are pieces by writer Mary Ann Thomas and San Francisco Chronicle food critic Soleil Ho, and more. I'd love to read the dedication to you. Did you eat is something you say if you've been away from someone for an hour or a decade. Something you understand in your mother tongue, even if you don't speak the language. Something that means, I love you, I care about you, can I share what I have with you? This scene is dedicated to any Black, Indigenous person of color who has created home with the phrase, did you eat? This scene is dedicated to our families and ancestors of the diasporas of space, place, and time, to our relationships made by blood and by sharing recipes, meals, and stories. The next piece that I'd like to read from Did You Eat is called Appropriation Appreciation. Appropriation of food culture is a hot topic for a reason. White women stealing recipes from Mexican women so they can open a food cart in Portland. White restaurateur Andrew Bizarre Food Zimmern opening a chain of lackluster Chinese restaurants while calling other Chinese restaurants in the Midwest horseshit. Non-native Hawaiian people and white people from the UK trademarking poke and pho. Countless other examples. It's harder to write about these things without my temper boiling over than it is to find numerous examples of the privilege and audacity that some people have over food culture that is not theirs. It is everywhere. Emboldened by systemic colonization which aims to destroy Indigenous people, encouraged by xenophobia and white supremacy which cuts down people of color, people are out here making a profit on food they steal from cultures they participate in eradicating. Cultural appropriation is easy to feel in your gut and recognize if you are culturally connected to food that's been stolen and monetized in ways that don't benefit you. Appropriation might feel nebulous if you're used to consuming other cultures. This conversation about appropriation always feels like it's happening from a deficit perspective for the benefit of the colonizer. But why should we only talk about theft? Appropriation is definitely an ingredient to understanding food culture, but there's so much more. What if the conversation was about how we appreciate our cultural connection to food? Appreciation is joy. Appreciation centers our experiences. Appreciation holds our traditional food as sacred. Appreciation celebrates our food love languages. This is a more interesting conversation to me. Better than trying to educate people who have every opportunity to educate themselves, than describing and reliving trauma to try to convince people that appropriation really hurts. Then responding to accusations that acknowledging the cultural appropriation of food somehow means white people can't eat anything with spice or flavor from another culture. Appreciation is a celebration of our food culture in our own words. The stories and images in this zine are all about complexity and personal journeys. I'm a person of color living on occupied Dakota and Anishinaabe land, a child of colonizers and immigrants. I grew up in with a familial love language centered around food, nourishment, serving, and imbibing. I contain multitudes and know how we walk in this world is complex and nuanced rather than cut and dry like an unseasoned chicken breast. Putting this zine together made me feel trusted with ingredients to the most delicious, painful, savory, sweet, loving meal. It is such an honor to create something physical and lasting on these garlic skin pages when most flavors and aromas only live on in ephemeral memories. Endless gratitude to everyone who contributed stories, images, history, songs, funds, and love to this community effort. So pick up this zine for more poetry, essays, and art by BIPOC artists celebrating their food culture. The next zine that I'd like to read from is Unrest. That's Unrest Biking Through a Pandemic and Global Uprising. It's a collaborative zine by 22 femme trans women about how we're coping with 2020 so far. The zine includes art, poetry, and essays from a lot of different perspectives, and it was edited and assembled by hand on stolen and occupied Dakota and Anishinaabe land. The cover is by Zena Goldman. I'd like to read two poems. The first poem is called The Box, or Joy as an Act of Resistance by Livy Lick. I pack up my truck in the morning. I throw all my stuff in the back. I pack up my food and my shelter, pre-dawn when the sky is blue-black. I glug down some gulps of black coffee from a fancy quick trip with Stacked Stone, and I join the truckers on the freeway, streaming rap caviar on my phone. I'm going to spend days in my body, pedaling over roots and some rocks, and I'm taking all my worries with me, and I'm putting them into a box. And I'll open the box while I'm riding. I'll metabolize sorrow and fear, and banish my doubts for a moment, and whisper into the earth's ear. My mind is flying high above me. My body is drained to the dregs, but I'm freest when I've sweat down to the salt, when I sit down and can't feel my legs. I'll eat whenever I'm hungry. I'll nap as long as I want, and I'll wade in whatever water finds me, and I will accept each proffered blunt. I return home blessedly browner, with stories queued up for the fan, with blood fully oxygenated, with pictures ready for the gram. The box is now full of memories. There's no room for terror or stress. It's not nearly as good as therapy, but it's self-care, more or less. The next poem that I'd like to read is called Roll Out by Elizabeth L. We rolled out in full force, in formation, had to be 50 deep in front of me, and even more behind. Brown skin and black souls, all in a line. We took the streets, June 19th, past the stairs, past the cheers. We rode for us, for ourselves and for each other. We rode as one past and present body, historic. We rode and contemplated our freedom. We rode with the blessings of ancestors ever present. Through fatigue, pain, and joy, we communed with them, and we paused for them. Rolling to Lake Street with reverence, feeling the pain of brothers George and Philando. Sisters Brianna and Sandra, and countless Black lives taken from us. We rode for our freedom, and man, we rode deep. And this is the image with that reading. So pick up this zine, Unrest, for even more poetry, essays, and art about biking through the pandemic and global uprising. And all my zines are available at YOLO Zines. That's YOLOW Zines. Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us for the 2020 Twin Cities Zine Fest Zinester reading. A huge thanks to everyone who shared their work with us, and to all of you for tuning in. We hope it inspires you to check out the rest of the Twin Cities Zine Fest events and to make your own zine. Take care, everyone.